Hi, everybody. This is Rob Daywalt. I'm an adjunct professor at Southern New Hampshire University, and I'm doing a little video here for my class. Wanted to share that I have many of these on different subjects in the area of criminal justice and paralegal studies and that type thing. Um, but today I just felt like I haven't done one of these for a while, but I just felt like what I read from one of my students was so insightful that I wanted to uh, not only respond, which I did online, but um, I wanted to comment on it and share that with my classes so that you would see that the depth of this thinking. I just think it's remarkable and worthy of being commented on. So what Lisa brings up is that in the area of deviance, we all talk about it. We think of it in kind of mundane ways. I've often said that my take on it always was, no shirt, no shoes, no service. So in other words, you're violating a norm, and that's what deviance really is violating a community norm that everybody is used to. But she brings up in a couple different discussion replies, she brings up, first of all, the story of Rosa Parks. So Rosa Parks is getting on a bus all these many years ago, and I want to give you a little background. It was actually December 1st, 1955, Montgomery, Alabama. 42-year-old Rosa Parks actually violated a city law requiring racial segregation on public buses. Now that was a deviance from, he was deviating from a local norm in that town, in that community. Segregation was a norm. Everybody was segregated. They had white bathrooms, they had black bathrooms, they had white drinking fountains, they had black drinking fountains. Folks, I'm old enough to have gone in the South and seen that as a very young man and really as a child. And I was totally flabbergasted. I had no idea what to think of it. But here is even so bad that you had to ride in a separate area of a city bus on your way to work every day. And so on this day, after attending services with Martin Luther King Jr. and others that were basically trying to bring focus and attention to how this segregation is wrong and violates the Constitution and violates the rights of a whole large group of citizens in that community. She was inspired to violate a local ordinance, and she sat in the front of the bus instead of having to sit in the back of the bus. Just so you know, there is, and this is augmenting maybe what is said here by Lisa. This was actually written in the National Archives. It's available online at archives.gov/education/lessons Rosa Parks, and you should be able to find it. But also, if you would put in the citation, which is Breedhoff, which is Bredhoff, Stacy, Wynal Schammel, Lee Ann Porter, the arrest records of Rosa Parks in Social Education 63-4, May-June 1999, pages 207 to 211. So, in other words, what we have here is, and the reason I'm making this video is that we have a couple different things going on at the same time. Like I said, my thing is, and my example that I put in my discussion board post in response to Lisa is, I go into White Castle no shirt, no shoes. I'm wearing my swimming trunks. And like I said, unfortunately, because of age and, disregard of exercise and everything else except cerebral, kind of pursuits like this, um, I made the manager really upset because I looked disgusting. And then after that, after he takes a moment to nearly faint, he throws me out of the White Castle, which is kind of like one of my favorite places in the whole world. And so at once, what we're seeing here is we're seeing a um, violation of a law, but it is a civil law. It is not a criminal law. And in the case of Rosa Parks, that ordinance was a criminal law. She was arrested and put in jail for that. So you can see how the blending of deviance and crime, and I've tried to bring focus on that before, but by Lisa just bringing it in perfect focused by using a wonderful example of the case of Rosa Parks. And, I just think it's fantastic. So, the other part of this that I wanted to point out is that the speeding, a lot of students talk about speeding being a crime. It's not really a crime in most of the country anymore. I think as an early child, I think it was a crime at one time, but now it is oftentimes a city ordinance violation, or it can be a violation of a state law, but it's designated a civil law, not a criminal law. So the only thing that can happen if you violate a civil law is that you might get a fine, probably get admonished, but you can't be put in jail. And so one of the basic tenets of crime in the United States is that it's punishable by some kind of jail. So in order to be a crime, like, for example, speeding, it has to be over 25 miles over the speed limit here locally where I live, and that's the way it is usually, I think. And in that point, if speeding is over 25 miles an hour, it is reckless driving. It is not the civil law anymore. It becomes an actual crime. It is a criminal law violation. And it can be punished, like here locally in Indiana, it's punished, I think, by it's either 90 days in jail or up to 6 months in jail. One of those two. I haven't looked at that for a long time. But anyway, and of course, still a fine. So that kind of shows you how this stuff can work. In other words, it's all deviance. That's my point of making this video. A lot of this is all deviance because it violates social norms. You commit a crime, you're violating social norms. Nobody wants anybody to commit crimes. That's a, basic tenet of humankind, I think. So anyway, just wanted to bring this to your attention. A lot of really good material here. She speaks greatly, Lisa, about Emily Post etiquette, about wearing a hat. I brought that up. And she commented on that with the thing about Emily Post and her writings on etiquette. So you got issues that could be etiquette, which is the lowest level of deviance. You've got issues that could be like an ordinance violation, like speeding, or in the case of Rosa Parks, sitting in the wrong part of the bus, or you have like true crimes. It's kind of a compendium, progressive, if you will, of different acts that are all violations of norms, but move on through the different levels of just, what we call a faux pas, which is to say, everybody snickers and laughs and says, "Isn't that gross and stupid?" And then the next one, and my example on that was my dad raised me never wear your hat at the dinner table. Never, for whatever, do not wear your hat in a restaurant at the table. That's an absolute no no. And yet, everywhere you go today, everybody's wearing their hat, except me, because that's the way I was raised and that's how I am. But that's something that's trending over time to not be seen as a violation of a norm. So it's becoming less and less deviant. In only certain families, it would be considered deviant. And then as you go further into it, you look at the things like speeding or the Rosa Parks case. That's actual violation of an ordinance. It's also deviant. Then you move on from there into, say, a guy shows up in town and he doesn't have any clothes on for whatever reason. Well, that's a crime, and so you can see how these different things, and you can use a lot of different examples. I brought up the Boston Tea Party, how that was a violation of law, also a deviant act that caused, was one of the basic, preliminary causes of the creation of a great nation. So just a few things to think about crime and deviance. Have a great day. This is a Sunday, beautiful day. Looking out. Hope we all have a great week. Take care.